Welcome back to the Create Harmony podcast. Our focus here on this podcast is the joy that is all around us all the time. It's just nestled in the little things, the taste of the first sip of coffee in the morning, the way the wind sounds when it rustles the leaves on the trees outside, the laugh of your child, the way my puppy's face looks when she's running towards me in the yard. It's the softness of your bed when you lie down each night, the smell of dinner cooking on the stove. Each of those things holds a tiny piece of joy. And we as a group are going to take a moment to notice all those things. We use gratitude as a tool to ground us, and we look for fun and creativity in each day. So I'm your host, Sally Burlington, and this is episode 88. So I've got an update. The college drop-off was a success. We did that last week, and everyone is beginning that process of adjusting to our new normal. We took our youngest daughter to college last week, so now we are empty nesters, free birds, whatever you want to call us, and our daughter's doing really well. We're growing used to life without her at home, but what I've learned about having college-age children is that my emotional backpack that we talked about last week still has some heaviness in it, and it's going to have that for a few more weeks or months as we adjust. It's not like when you take your child to kindergarten or high school or whatever, when you have the first day of school and that's just one big event and then you sort of lean into your rhythm. Moving into this next phase carries with it a lot of emotions. In fact, I don't really even have the words to express all the emotions that I'm feeling. So I'm not going to go into that. If my brain were going to be in the movie Inside Out, all the emotions would be in there competing for their turn in the light. But primarily what I'm feeling is grateful. Grateful that we've had this time with our daughter and that she is such a special and beautiful being. Grateful that our children are thriving. Grateful that we are healthy and that we have the means for them to pursue their dreams and go to college. Just grateful overall, and grateful for the things that are to come with my husband and I. Grateful for our home. And as I'm processing all that, I'm searching for all the things that make the next phase of my life as meaningful and special as the phase that we're closing. And I know for sure that God intends to use me and our daughters in some profound ways, and my husband too. I know that I only have a glimpse of what those ways are at this point. So I mentioned a couple of things that are next for us in last week's episode. I told you that I was beginning into a spiritual direction program this fall. It's a 2-year program. I'll be in a small cohort of other learners working towards the same goal. And I told you that we are soon to begin a construction process for our backyard pool, which is a huge undertaking, and it's a little bit daunting and overwhelming at first, but eventually it's going to be fabulous. And we have lots of ideas as to what that can look like for us and how we can use that space. We've also added some volunteering with a local nonprofit, and certainly we're still involved with lots of things at church, ways that we can be a blessing. And we'll have more on all of that as we move along, as those things start to unfold. I'll talk about that a little bit more. And redefining our everyday rhythms, that allows a lot of space for all kinds of new things. But one part of that is figuring out which new things fit and where and how they fit. And I find that a little overwhelming because, like I said, we don't remember what it's like to have these rhythms. So one of the ways that I'm responding to that is my plan to create what I call a someday notebook. Not Sunday, someday. A someday notebook. So let me tell you what I mean. There have always been like restaurants we intended to try, hobbies I'm interested in, places I want to travel, and all that stuff that when you hear about it, you think, oh, that'd be fun. That'd be interesting. I'd like to do that. And if you're anything like me, you forget all that stuff. When it's time to go to dinner, you think, where should we go? Or, when it's time to add something new into your life, you're not sure where to start. Most of the time, we're moving so quickly from one thing to the next that we never actually got to those restaurants or hobbies or whatever. But one thing we believe here at Create Harmony is the concept of intentional living. So that means we take a moment to consider how and why we do things. So a someday notebook, that just helps me dream and find a place to put things that spark my interest. It's also a way for me to not have to hold so much in my brain, everything in my brain, because my brain gets pretty full and cluttered. I'm slightly towards the ADHD spectrum, and so having that all whirling around above my head is overwhelming. So I think this is going to be an expanded version of a vision board. Now, right now, it is a blank notebook. There's nothing in it. It has blank pages. But in my mind, I plan to create sections for each of the things I listed before: restaurants, hobbies, places I want to go, things I want to travel. And then I can dream them into being by listing them in these sections and creating some excitement around them. Now, in my dreamy version of this notebook, I would fill it with lists and pictures and art that inspire me, and the pages would be beautiful and filled with so many tempting ideas. Now, in reality, my someday notebook probably won't turn out that elaborate or special because my actual day-to-day list will need priority and I won't be able to indulge in that much dreaming and imagining. But at the beginning of the year, I chose 2 words. You choose a word of the year. Well, I chose 2 words this year, and those words were cultivate and imagine. I chose cultivate because I love gardening and I love plants and growing things and seeing things come alive. And it also aligns with my planner, which comes from a company called Cultivate What Matters. So I wanted this word to draw me towards regular habits of tending the things that are most important to me. And I chose imagine because I wanted to be inspired to create and see what life could be like, imagining new things and lifting my gaze and seeing more possibilities. Now, if I'm honest, imagine is a little bit more difficult for me because if you devote a lot of time to imagine, really, it's going to feel an awful lot like wasting time. It feels like you're just sitting around in this dreamy space and not really getting anything done. And what I've learned as I try to carry that word through my year is that imagining, while it feels like wasting time, it can bring me deeper joy and really bring brightness, basically, into my life more than just sticking to the grind. So, as what often happens with an inspiration word, I have seen places to apply it that I wasn't even thinking about when I started. I've imagined my backyard, imagined new friendships, imagined our new garden space. This is where all innovation originates for me. And if I want to live a life filled with new ideas, I have to make space to imagine them. So, as I journey along into my next new life phase, I'll be cultivating and imagining my some days to come. And hopefully that will be an inspiration for you to find even a tiny sliver of your life to dream your own dreams. And hopefully that will bring you deep joy as well. So switching gears before we close, I'll give you a little garden update because this is something that I imagined and then we cultivated. So we did both of those words. I had shared in the past that we created a raised bed garden and it was thriving and it was producing herbs and veggies and everything was going great, fun, and exciting. But just like all things in life, we've hit another snag. I had told you earlier that we were having some drainage issues, and we just continue to have drainage issues in and around our garden. Since this is sort of our first iteration, we're just figuring out all the hiccups that we need to have. So this summer, we had a little bit of a stint where it rained about every day for about 10 days straight. We got not just a sprinkle, we had the effects of Tropical Storm Debbie, and we got lots and lots of water. So for many days, we had water ponded up. I mean, we didn't have to create an outdoor pond. We could have probably put some fish out there because it was ponded up all around the exterior of the garden. And basically, the effect is that many of our plants suffered and died. We lost our cucumbers, some of our tomatoes. Our cantaloupe did produce 2 small melons, and then it was gone. Our lavender and thyme really struggling. There's still a lot of basil out there and still some things growing, but, we're just moving through these challenges just because that's part of gardening. So we had a moment where everything was growing and thriving, but now we've moved on to the next moment where we need to get out there and work some more. So our plan is to add some more drainage to change the way the water flows, and maybe I'll get that done in time to plant some fall crops. I would love to plant some Brussels sprouts or some lettuces or whatever. I think that would be fun, but if that doesn't happen, then we will do that. We'll put that in the someday notebook and do it maybe next year. So that's an update on our garden. And as we close today, for our closing, we're going to just hear this quote. The quote is, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." And that's from Eleanor Roosevelt. And I thought that was really inspiring in these days where if you turn on the news or any kind of information source, you hear a lot of warnings and upset and discord and just a lot of things that aren't beauty and dreams. And I thought that quote would help us to focus on things that are good, as we like to do. So thanks so much for joining us. Hopefully you'll come back next week and get another update on where we're moving along through our adjustment phase. And until next time, peace.